Hello and welcome everyone to the Liberate Meditation Coach Training course. We are now in the 10th week. Today we'll cover essentials of effective coaching. We'll begin by practicing an energy coaching exercise. It's part of a guided meditation. Then we'll dive into the essentials of leadership coaching, receive an introduction to developing somatic awareness, and also have an opportunity to experience life coaching, integrating the modalities of healing, coaching, and meditation. Let's begin with a seated energy practice. Hopefully you have found a comfortable place and a comfortable seat. I'd like to review the sitting with you. If you're in a chair, you can ensure that both your feet are firmly planted on the floor. Or if you're in an easy cross-legged position, you can also prop your sits bones up, which allows your knees to fall below your hips. And it's easier to sit with a straight spine when your buttocks are slightly tilted up. And ensuring that your spine feels tall and free, your shoulders and your back completely relaxed. Take a breath, inhale, and exhale. Let it go. Let your day go. Even let the last minute go. Your eyes may be gently open or closed. And the head is gently moving up towards the sky. Perfectly balanced at the top of the spine. So if you like, you can gently nod your head forward and back just to find that sense of perfect balance at the top of the spine. And now that you have your seat, you can even roll your shoulders back just so you feel completely comfortable and open through the inner core of your body. As you relax, it allows more energy to flow and circulate through your physical body. Turning your attention inward, now become aware of the quality of energy, your energy, in this moment. Simply becoming aware of your energy with pure acceptance of where you are now. Become aware of where your energy is. Do you feel that all your energy is with you? Or do you feel that some of your energy is dissipated or left in the past? Is some of your energy even outside of your body? Or does it feel anchored and grounded in your physical body? Simply noticing without judgment. As you tune in, notice if you feel your energy moving. And if your energy is moving in one direction or another, becoming aware of the quality of this movement. Do you feel your energy moving away in a particular direction? Or is it swirling around? Noticing the subtle movement of the energy within you. Does it feel like your energy is moving out of the body? Is it moving in an outer direction, leaking in a particular direction? Or does your energy feel contained? Just being aware. Being aware of the quality, if it feels calm or chaotic, balanced or unbalanced. Observing your energy just as it is. And you may have noticed that as you become aware of your own energy, that it naturally begins to shift. And now becoming aware of your ground, your connection to the earth, appreciating and noticing your connection to the earth, surrendering to being held by the earth and allowing it to support you so that you can rise tall in your seat, in your energy. Gently begin to circulate the magnetic energy of the earth through your body by drawing up the earth's energy through the legs, up through the whole body. Simply having an awareness of Earth's energy circulating, moving, and clearing through your physical body. And it begins with an intention. Applied together with your imagination. Moving your awareness through your body, letting the earth clear out any tension or blocks, freeing up constricted places inside of the body. And as you practice the circulation of fresh energy, you can begin to bring in the cosmic energy, the highest, clearest energy in the cosmos. And as you do this, notice if you feel a shift, another shift in the quality of your energy. Now, what would it be like to consciously still your energy? What would it be like to consciously still your own energy? If you'd like, you can imagine a candle flame becoming perfectly still, or a calm, clear, still lake. What do you notice as you drop into the stillness? As you surrender to stillness? What would it be like to surrender to inner balance? To surrender to freedom? pay attention to how you would like your energy to feel. How do you prefer to experience your own energy? Your guided meditation is now complete. You're welcome to open your eyes. And as you open your eyes, noticing if you experience a shift before you close your eyes at the beginning of practice. Presence is an energetic state of being. Presence has a quality. When you're present, you're fresh. You're seeing with new eyes. You're bright, free, full of energy. When your energy is open and flowing and grounded, connected, it helps to cultivate a present state of being. The state of presence is the only state in which creative energy is available to you. This is how intimate the relationship is between creativity and presence. Presence helps to nurture creativity, and creativity helps to cultivate presence. Coaching and healing is a creative act. It is a creative art. And it's in the state of presence that we are the greatest service to ourselves and to others. In coaching, you're helping to make the invisible visible, the unconscious conscious. And you're entering a space with someone in which you've agreed to evolve together. It's a sacred agreement. Carolyn May says, learn to trust what you cannot see far more than what you can see. And this is our job, our role as coaches, as healers, as artists, is to see what isn't always visible, to intuit, to sense, to get in touch with something that you can't necessarily look at or name but to get a sense of and to trust that. With coaching, you enter the unknown. That's part of the gift, is delving into the mystery, going into new territory with someone. With healing, creativity, with the arts, there's always an element of mystery. And it's a shamanic journey where you, as shaman, will at times enter other realms of consciousness with another. And by doing so, you're providing that healing space, the inspiration, the insight, the nourishment for the person that you're working with. And part of that is being in an uncomfortable space with someone. The good thing is you don't have to know all the answers. You don't have to always know the right thing to say. And we're not expected to know everything, because we're going into this unknown territory. And it's about having the presence to go into these spaces and letting go into the unknown, whether it's with yourself or with your client, is one of the greatest gifts that you can experience. Grounding is essential because it opens up our intuition. It helps open up the intuition of our client. And it also helps to focus the energy in a session. You might be working with someone, and oftentimes it might be later in the day or at the end of the day, and this person that you're working with could be showing up after work. They could feel a bit scattered or dissipated or drained from their day. They could be really tired, or even, busyness can put us into a state of being that isn't really clear. And they might not be all there. So when we practice the meditation and the grounding in the beginning, it helps to bring and gather the energy together to help make it more present and connected. And it also helps to bring through the energy of the spirit, the energy of the soul. And when the spirit is not present in a session, you'll feel that, you'll experience it. And there might be some cases where someone will come in and they've got a great deal of stress, or maybe they have trauma, they have PTSD. Actually, a high level stress causes PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. So it's important to keep in mind where people are when you're starting a coaching session, and how to facilitate that process of moving them into a deeper space. And another way that grounding helps to facilitate coaching is, if the client is really in their head, and if they're caught up in their own thoughts, if they're in their head, they will probably try to use a lot of reason to work their way through the coaching session. Everything is on a mental level, and it isn't necessarily connected on a spiritual level. So with this approach that we're taking in our coaching course, we are conscious of the spirit and the soul while we work with someone, and ensuring that that is part of the process, that that sense of connection is there, that deeper connection to their true self, their authentic self. And this is how grounding helps to set the space for that. Because if they're not connected to their spirit, they really won't have a strong sense of what they want, what they're passionate about, their excitement, their individual will. They'll be operating off of, past or beliefs or what they think they should be doing. So this is how grounding becomes an important part of the coaching and the healing process. It also opens us up and it really connects both the coach and the client to their intuition. Intuition is the language of the soul. It's the language of heart. And if you're not sure which direction to move with your heart. Let your heart, let the intuition lead the session. When you're creating that space where the client's spirit can be fully present, it allows you to cut to the chase. It allows you to go deeper, faster, to go into an authentic flow with another, and it helps to cultivate safety and trust. Have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow know what you truly want to become. From Steve Jobs. Here are some questions that you may want to consider when you start a coaching practice. Who do you enjoy working with? Begin thinking about the kind of people you like to work with. Demographics that you enjoy being of service to. What kind of coaching do you like to offer? Is it leadership coaching, business coaching, nutritional coaching, meditation coaching? And really start to think about the kind of coaching that you'd like to offer. And also your true gifts. The gifts that you know that you have, and the gifts that bring you joy when you share them. So let yourself think about the times that you've really been excited and passionate, or just felt that little inkling of joy bubbling up when you've worked with people, in which situations, which circumstances. And take time to consider just one ideal client. I know in the creative arts, it's really challenging for creative people to be specific and to be focused. But really, you want to be aware of trying to be everything to everyone. Because what often happens, because all of us have, when we work in this industry, pretty big hearts, we want to be able to serve everyone. And eventually you might do that. But in the beginning, especially as you are offering or establishing your own practice, it really helps to have a focus, to know which area that you want to start in. Because this also allows people to find you. And it helps you to develop your craft in coaching and healing. So think about an ideal client. And of course, you can always expand. When you develop yourself in one niche, it's easier to expand outward. Potential can manifest when it's defined and pursued. And I find that this is often one of the most challenging parts for many people that are creative artists in the healing arts is that they're challenged in either defining their job role, defining what they have to offer, defining the people that they want to work with, because they don't want to be put into a box. They don't want to be limited to the one thing. And again, consider what we talked about before, which was discovering freedom through boundaries, freedom through discipline, freedom through structure. And knowing that when you can find a way to serve one person and serve them well, serve them deeply, you then have a template and you have a guide to serve other people or more people. And that there is a potential to still expand outward. But when your focus is in too many different directions with too many different types of demographics, it can be a lot more challenging to establish yourself in coaching or in the healing arts. So take time in this process. It's an organic process. You don't have to know right away, but it's something to think about, especially if you want to create a business in coaching. Take time to think about where or how you'll offer your services. Would you like to offer your services online or in a group, in person? Do you want to work with organizations? Would you like to do telephone coaching? Are you interested in hosting workshops or retreats? And even if you went into the realm of retreats, there is half-day retreats, weekend retreats, 5-day retreats, destination retreats. So there's a lot to think about that's there. And let yourself dream and go wide. You know, when you are brainstorming these ideas about how you want to approach coaching, let yourself, go to the sky, go beyond the sky with all of it. And then see if you can start to prioritize based on your excitement, your passion, your sense of purpose. But really, what I tend to find, or what I've discovered for myself, is that excitement, natural excitement or joy, is a wonderful guide for deciding how to begin, how to start, how to work. You got to figure out how you work best, what helps you feel balanced and in your flow, on your game, on point, on purpose. What helps you to experience that? For myself personally, I found it challenging to do one-on-one in person. I felt it took quite a bit of energy for me. I felt like I wasn't able to help and be as effective in that capacity. So it took me a while to learn about myself and how I worked best with people. And at first, you might want to experiment with different ways to offer your services. So feel free to experiment and go wide in the beginning, and then think about bringing it back in. coaching is a collaborative and creative process. You're creating a safe space for your client. You're building trust and safety. And this allows you to go deep. It allows your client to let go and to really open up about what they truly feel regarding their own frustrations, their blocks, their fears, and also their deepest desires. Let's now walk through the essentials of effective coaching. The first is to know your client. And we explored this in the last webinar, but to take that time to find out about your client, you might want to have a client intake form, a coaching agreement that sets the tone and the space for which you'll work together, that there will be confidentiality, how your sessions will be conducted. And what I often find is that initial agreement is a healing process because you're setting the space and the boundaries for which you'll be working together, and creating that clarity gives your client safety and confidence in working together with you. Find out about their lifestyle. If they have anxiety and they want to find a way to manage their anxiety, well, it helps to know if they're drinking 8 cups of coffee a day. If they're having problems sleeping, it helps to know that they're working in their bed before they go to bed at night. It helps to know these things. So let yourself go deep with them. Find out about their work, their personal, their professional goals, and who they are. So take time to do your diligence with your clients. Take notes. Think about your coaching agreement. And in coaching, you'll be asking a lot of questions. And this is one of the main aspects of coaching, is asking powerful questions. When you ask questions, you're moving your client naturally towards higher levels of awareness, and you're moving them to their own answers, their own insights. So it's a powerful technique for guiding people in their own self-discovery. And it can be actually surprisingly easy to facilitate this. It's important to be fully present, to listen and be present before you ask. Let your curiosity guide you into new spaces with your client, and find out, where are they and where do they want to be? And do this by asking a series of questions. What helps is to ask simple questions that begin with what. What helps to open the space for the next thing to come through for your client? It's different than how and why, which includes explanations. You can still ask those questions, but they don't necessarily move into an actionable or insightful process. So for example, if you ask why, it could send you in a very different direction than a what question. And in the beginning, when you start coaching, you might be caught up in your mind more, and to remember that it helps to just ask those simple questions, because sometimes you can ask a very long question. That can happen, and you'll ask multiple long questions, and that can actually create more confusion. So it helps to stay with simple questions, just one question at a time, and address the one question at a time. Work with that. So if you start to feel yourself go into overdrive, just remember just one simple question that starts with what. Take time to really listen. And when you listen, let yourself go beyond the words of your client. And also notice if their words are matching their intentions, their emotions, and what they say, what they mean. So, are their words expressing what they truly mean? Here's an example. So, is that something that you'd like to pursue? Yeah. Have you ever heard that one? Yeah. Yeah. And it comes off as not really a solid yes. There is hesitation, it's not connected. And your job as a coach is to find out that space between the yeah and what they really want. So, with intuitive coaching, you're also attuning to your own body. With grounding, you're in touch with your body, your soma, your awareness. And by being in touch with yourself, you're also able to connect to where your client is as well. So think about paying about 50-50 attention to yourself, tracking yourself, and also about half of your attention to your client. And just be aware of when you put more of your attention into your client versus yourself, or vice versa. You have more of your attention into yourself, and see what helps serve you best as a coach, especially as you're listening. And there's reflective listening, active listening, compassionate listening, listening with a state of being, an intentional state of being. And we all know that when we've been truly listened to, even without someone saying something, that's passive listening, just knowing that somebody's just listening, but really taking it in, that is healing in itself. Listening alone creates an alchemy of healing. It helps to create transformation. And actually, there is some restraint when we're in listening, because we have to really take that time and space to listen and not necessarily project our own answer or our own thing that we are going to say, but to take that time to listen. What you'll often find too is that when there are deep pauses, when the client pauses and there's a space to be aware of what happens when you let that space be there versus trying to fill the space with more words, content, questions, what have you. I remember seeing a journalism interview, and the journalist said that when they interviewed people, um, one of the magic gifts of journalism was waiting whenever there was a huge pause. Oftentimes, what came after that pause was a profound response by the interviewee. And I feel that is similar in coaching. When there's a pause and a silence, that something bigger wants to come through, something bigger wants to be expressed, to let those spaces be. So paying attention, taking time to listen, Reflective listening is a way of listening that really allows people to be heard. And the way this tool works is that once someone tells you what's going on with them, how they feel, a challenge, anything, when they're sharing that with you, simply repeating back exactly what you heard them say. It's a simple practice, but it's powerful because it really allows the other person to be heard. And it helps them to hear themselves through you. That's the practice of reflective listening. Another thing to be aware of is that as you listen, to be in your center as you're listening, because it's easy to get pulled into your client's space or their story and everything that's going on with them. And again, being aware of your own energy in the process of coaching. Are you abandoning yourself, abandoning being present in your body and moving all the way, jumping into your client's body and story and space? Because that's a really good way to get depleted after a coaching session. And when you are in your center, it actually allows that flow of open communication to happen more naturally and easily. Because when we project ourselves into someone else's space, it actually doesn't allow them to express as easily energetically. It's better to let them have their space and you hold that ground of center. And it just allows that vibration of truth to flow. And it also helps you to not be thrown off center as well. So if we listen in a way where we're throwing ourselves into the other person's body and story, you'll find that energetically challenging, especially if you're working with tough emotions and things like that, tough feelings. So just be aware of how you're listening so that you're not taking on energy. And we'll talk more next week about practicing healthy energetic boundaries and how that helps create and facilitate healing. So let's take a break here and practice a simple exercise together, which is simply being aware of energy. If you'd like, you can begin to find a meditative seat and close your eyes. I'd like you to think about something that you have a charge with, an emotional charge. Maybe it's a 5 or a 6 or a 7. It could be anything from money, work, certain people. Maybe it's your diet, your exercise regime, whatever that is. Find something that you have some energy around, where there's a charge for you. It lights you up. It triggers you. And as you consider that thing and really look at it, be with it, just start by noticing the way it makes you feel. How does it make you feel when you think about it, when you envision it? Where do you feel it in your body specifically? Where do you feel that charge in your body? And in your mind's eye, begin to describe it in as much detail as possible. So go into that feeling use as many words, images, analogies, colors, and keep allowing the feeling to unfold. So just be with that inner feeling and describe it in detail. Look at it closely. Become aware of the energy, the quality of the energy that this thing brings up for you. And as you describe it in detail, see how it changes. Is it changing? Let yourself really be with that and notice what's happening. Is the quality of feeling shifting? And if it's not, perfectly okay. Whatever your true experience is perfectly okay. Now, as you're holding that charge in your awareness, begin to practice grounding. So begin to ground yourself. And notice what's shifting with that internal feeling. Is the inner feeling of that charge changing? And see if you can be fully present with this charge, fully grounded. And see if you can see it with more space and compassion. Breathing, letting go. Simply being aware of the energy. And this is a practice of noticing how just being aware of energy helps to shift it. And this is what you can also practice with your clients, is staying grounded and centered and being aware of the energy that's there as you're listening. And if you're listening beyond words, that level of listening, that level of awareness allows the energy to shift and change and come into balance more easily. So the next time you're listening to someone, let yourself become aware of the energetic quality that's arising by staying grounded in yourself, even tracking your own sensations while tracking what you're noticing. And listening at this level of energetic awareness, it's powerful for your clients to hear feedback. Offer genuine feedback and validation about how your client is progressing. Let yourself be that clear reflection. Let them know what you've witnessed in their growth. Validate them, affirm them, but also be aware of how you offer praise to your client. Do your best not to take on parental energy or a parental role where you're, telling them how good they are, how great they are, because, at the end of the day, they're not there for your approval or your permission or for your praise. They are there for themselves. So, be enthusiastic about their progress, the changes that they've made. Let them know what you're seeing. And see if you can also stay, centered within yourself as you offer that. Something as simple as, I noticed that you did this week. You did ABC. That's also another great way to offer feedback. With feedback, you're reflecting clearly with awareness, with clear energy. Remember to coach in present time. Stay anchored in the now. It's easy with coaching, especially when people come from a therapy background and they're coming for coaching. They might try to slip into therapy mode where they're talking a lot about their past and they're repeating stories of the past that they've repeated many, many times before. And you know this because there's an unconscious quality in the way that they're communicating these stories. They're just sort of talking like a drone, and train talking as in nonstop talking. And this is really not the coaching dynamic that we're working with. We're looking for there to be a meaningful connection and exchange between the coachee and the coach, where it's dynamic, there's an awareness there, and to be aware of cultivating fresh communication. And there might be times when your client wants to share a story and they are sharing the story from a place of discovery. And that's powerful when you're there to witness and listen to a story that they're discovering something within themselves in that moment. They're sharing that with you. And that's a fresh story. But those stories that they've recycled over and over and over again, I did this happened to me, did it, all of these reasons why they are a certain way, which affirms their own, I would say, mindset of themselves. That's something to be aware of. And don't be afraid to interject or to interrupt your client if you sense that this is the direction that it's moving in. Keep it fresh, keep it going. What happened? What did you learn from that experience? How did you feel about it? Start moving that towards the end so that you can work on material that is effective in the moment, that's actually moving them towards something positive, something that they want to create. And again, be aware of words that people use that are being used to almost push away or avoid. Sometimes people talk a lot because they are afraid of intimacy. They're afraid of that going deeper. And this is how that unconscious talking, where it's just a constant stream of talking and in no particular direction with no particular focus or purpose. That's what can start to happen with that level of connection or communication. So cultivate that nowness communication where it's fresh, it's open, it's connected, where your clients are more in a place of genuine discovery and revelation. Don't be afraid to interrupt or to shift and change and move the energy. Keep the energy present. And another thing that I'll tend to do if I find that that is happening is I'll even use my body language. I'll raise my hand or shift something just to redirect, to shift the focus, shift the attention, and kind of let them know on another subconscious level, like, okay, this is enough here. let's start to go somewhere real with this. And take that time to focus in the moment, to be really present and there with your client. Create a plan of action together with your client. And know that sometimes this can be a delicate process because it's actually asking them to make changes in their lives, and come to an agreement with them, decide together with them what feels doable, realistic. I'm a big fan of making changes that people can integrate into their life. I'm less, I tend to be more hesitant when somebody wants to make a huge, major life change, because people might think that they're ready for that, but if they're not able to integrate that, it can actually cause more stress and, I would say, a kind of karma that you just want to be mindful of. If people want to make a huge change, that really needs to come from them. It's something that they've thought through. And when you develop a plan of action together with your client, hold them accountable. Remember that that's your job as a coach. They're not going to tell you, make sure you hold me accountable. Most likely they won't, but that is your job. That's the unspoken agreement of your job, is to stay on top of them. If they said that they were going to do something, follow up with them. There is so much power to following up with people. Just the simple comment, we talked about this last week. Did you do that? And they'll say, oh no, da 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 da. And, maybe they'll have some reason or excuse. Well, stick it to them. Say, oh, you didn't do it. You said in the last session, you said that was really important to you. Let's talk about that. If they want to shut down the space, don't let them. Keep it open. Dialogue, have that fierce conversation. That's your job as a coach, is to hold this balanced space of nurturing and also accountability. So ensure that those agreements are met with your client, that they're taking action on what they said is important to them, on what they said was meaningful to them. Let them decide what actions that they want to take, but then you pay attention to that. Take those notes, write it down, follow up, ask them about it. And, it's easy to let that ball drop. So don't let that ball drop, because these are the energies that we're working with. Is that a lot of times you're going to see resistance. A lot of times you're going to be experiencing avoidance. from your client. And it's your role, your job to be present to that. If you're sensing that they're avoiding what they said that they wanted to do, you become present with it with your consciousness. Invite them to be present with it. Don't be afraid to do that. I think a lot of coaches get stuck here because they don't want to be assertive, or they want to be nice and accommodating to their client. And I think you got to really consider how you're actually being of service to people and how you're really helping them. And you got to keep the big picture in mind, because action is everything in coaching. Coaching is about action. It doesn't matter what they say in the 60 to 90 minutes that they're with you. They might have really great breakthroughs. They might, work through a lot of things with you. But what they do when they're not with you is just as important, if not more. So if you find that your client just keeps talking, but not actually doing, pay attention to that. Call them out on it. Say something. What real positive change is your client taking? Ask yourself that. What real positive change? Pay attention to it. Action is the foundational key to all success. Pablo Picasso. Keep track of progress. Your job as coach is to stay on top of what progress is being made. Be mindful of going at an organic pace. There'll be some times where no progress is being made, because what actually needs to happen is healing or letting go. There are some people, they come to you, you need to know where they're at in their life. Did they just go through something hugely traumatic? Because if they've gone through something hugely traumatic, they're not going to be ready to define their life goals. Usually they need to take time and space to heal. So you might be helping to hold that space for them. I actually don't like to say hold space. I like to say be space, because holding is attention. So you're like being a space, and being aware of being in that space with them. And remember to take notes on what you've discussed. That really helps you to keep track of progress. And again, be aware of that balance between nurturing and challenging your client. Give them that safe space to drop in, to be who they are, to say anything that they need to say, but also don't be afraid to challenge them, to push them to new heights. That's also why you're there as a coach, to help them go into territory that your client hasn't discovered yet within themselves or in their own life. And be aware that you're moving in a direction with your client. Really be aware of that, meaning that they're not just coming to you for an hour just to unload and talk like they would to a friend and have a feel-good hour. That's different than coming for professional coaching, where you're also looking at, the real results that are coming out of your time together. that it's more than a feel-good hour. It's now, how do we implement these changes into your life? What actions are you taking? A lot of the actions will probably be uncomfortable. We'll push them out of their comfort zone. So be aware that you're moving in a direction. You're making forward progress. Keep it pro. Be pro. If you want to pursue coaching, the healing arts, it is essential to approach it as you would any professional job. That's how you'll find success in this work. And it's not just about success, but when you're really serving your clients, you'll find that the abundance from your work will naturally start to come through. And it really comes from having a professional mindset. When you work with them, having those agreements, staying focused on the task at hand, being real to what's really needed in that session to move your client forward, and having those healthy boundaries with your client. Again, it's different than an hour talk that they'd have with their friend where they would release energy or tell their friend what happened during that day. It's different than that. Create a level of professionalism, or I would just say a level of being with your client that helps to create the space for optimal healing and growth. And again, with coaching as well as any other line of work, you're putting in similar types of hours. You would show up in the same way. You would, put on nice clothes if that helps you to feel brighter, a little more sharp in yourself. Approach it with a level of discipline and rigor that you would for any job, because that's really going to benefit you in offering and being of service to other people. And I just make that point because I see this is also an issue where people tend to get stuck with coaching, is bringing the same A game that they would to their own coaching business as they would to any other job, as if an employer hired them for that job. So, it's like, bring your game, show up professionally, show up fully for your client. They'll really feel that too when they know that you're coming at it from that perspective. Create a safe, nourishing space for your client, whether it's online or in person. If you're meeting with clients in person, physically create a nice, peaceful, clean atmosphere. Make sure that it's clean. Something as simple as that. It changes the vibration where both of you will be in peace. You won't be disturbed. There won't be any other noises. You won't hear somebody else in the other room. They won't hear your phone ringing. They won't have their phone ringing. Turn off all the distractions. Contain that space before you even get started. And it's an important part of the process is to become aware of the space that you're working in. If you're seated in person in coaching, they recommend that you sit looking in the same direction. If you think about a clock and you look at 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock, one person sitting at 10 o'clock, the other person sitting at 2 o'clock, you're angled, looking towards each other, not necessarily sitting right across from one another, because that experience of being right across from someone is a more confrontational energy. It's like being interviewed, for example. You want to create a harmonious feel And what I also find in angling with your client is that you don't take on as much energy either. If you're sitting right in front of your client, it's easier to absorb energy, especially if they're going through a lot of emotional energy or challenging energy. It just helps to create that natural ground and protection if you're sitting a little bit of an angle and not necessarily directionally facing them. And then if you're online, making sure that you have a nice environment, a nice background, you're not distracted, you don't have anything else on your computer or your technology device. It's just only them. And if you want to take notes during a session, let your client know in advance that you're taking notes. I would say if you're online, refrain from typing online as you're speaking with them. Take handwritten notes, but just to minimize those distractions. I would say it helps to minimize anything that takes away from being fully present with your client. And if you want to take notes, you can take them after the session. And to take minimal notes if possible, try to remember what was discussed. These are just a few tips and pointers. Some people, they do like to record their sessions. And again, you can ask your client. They might want a copy of that coaching session with you so that they remember. You can also record your guided coaching sessions or your guided meditations for your clients during your sessions together. So these are a few options that you can work with as you work together with your clients. Take time to check in with your client every, I would say, 4 or 5 sessions. Just ask them about how they feel in their progress of coaching together with you. And that way, there's no disappointments or surprises or expectations that have fallen short. Check in with them, ensure that they feel good about the process, ask them if they have any questions about it. And that also helps to keep the coaching agreement flowing and solid. Just remembering to check in. Embodied awareness. Simply being in your body, being aware, is a healing state that you can offer your client. The body is truly a powerful instrument for coaching and healing. It has its own intelligence. The body never lies. It always knows the truth. And it's a real-time biofeedback mechanism for spirit. So pay attention to your own body as you're coaching your client. You'll kind of know by your own bodily response and sensations that you feel inside yourself. For example, if they're talking about something, you might start to feel contraction in your body or contraction in the energy. Pay attention to that. If you ever feel strong sensations in your own body, start to pay attention as you're listening, because those are signals and it has information. It's an opportunity to stop and be present to that. And it could be something as simple as, wait a second, can you tell me that again? And ask them to repeat it and say, what did you feel in your body as you said that? What did you notice? And use that as an opportunity to connect your client to their own body awareness, to their own energy and their inner state. Because as a meditation coach, you're helping to create those connections of awareness to their emotions, to their inner state, to their energy, to their body. You can even guide them. Somatic is body awareness, body coaching. So you're raising that awareness. You can even guide people deeper into their body experience. If they say that they want something, but maybe you're not convinced energetically that's true, you could ask them, well, how does that feel in your gut? When you say that, what do you feel in your gut? A lot of times you might notice that people say, I don't really feel anything. It happens often that people say that they don't feel things in their body. Even if you're facilitating healing, they might not feel anything, and it's completely okay. It's actually normal that people say that, because a lot of times people aren't deeply connected to their bodily feelings, especially if they haven't practiced yoga or these practices like Qigong, where there's a more sensitive awareness of body shifts and sensations. So it's okay if they don't feel. And in that sense, that's why you as a coach, you want to have that sensitivity of awareness, because you'll be able to sense and feel as well. Sometimes you can sense even more than what your client might be able to. And it's okay. It's not something you would say explicitly, but something to be aware of. You could say, how does that feel in your gut? How does that feel in your bones? You know, bones is another level. How does it feel in your blood when you say that? What does your spirit feel when you say that? There's a lot of ways that you can coach people to explore deeper into their body and feeling that connection of their emotions and their energy to their body. Remember, feeling is healing. Feeling is healing. We have to allow ourselves to fully feel in our meditation practice, in our coaching practice, our healing. When we give ourselves permission and space to really, really feel what we're feeling, it's healing. We naturally allow things to come back into balance by taking that time and energy to feel. And remember that point has been cut off for a lot of people, the feeling and also the intuition, because our Western society doesn't necessarily cultivate the value of feelings or the value of intuition. It tends to be more devalued. So what has happened in the past is a lot of people intentionally cut themselves off from feeling, because the rational mind is more valued, when in fact the mind should be the servant to intuition and spirit, but we have it the other way around in society. So we're kind of helping to create these hookups in people's energetic systems as we're coaching them. You know, getting them in touch with their feeling, getting them in touch with their emotions, their intuition, their body through meditation coaching. And at the end of the day, you're going to have all of these tools that you've learned through the course training. Remember that the greatest gift you have to offer is to be your true self, be your full self. You don't have to know all the answers. You don't have to always know the right thing to say. It's okay when you're coaching someone to say, wow, I don't know what to say right now. It's okay to be yourself. And in fact, that I think a lot of people think about, can I be a good enough coach? Am I a good enough coach? Do I really know what I'm doing? You know, you can go into doubts and fears a lot with this kind of work. And it's not about being a perfect coach. It's about being yourself, and that your humanness, your flaws, your pains, your imperfections, your wounds is contributing as your full self to the coaching session. So at the end of the day, don't be afraid to bring your full self to the session. And your client will appreciate that. They'll appreciate your presence, your authenticity, your sincere, heartfelt effort. They will feel that. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to have every single technique and skill down. But just remember to be yourself in coaching.